And then just minimize it, if you would, when you're done. Oh, not now, but
Right.
when you're done, minimize your presentation.
Okay, yeah.
And then when you come up, all you do is push display show,
Okay.
and it'll come up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next is Community and Economic Development, and April Barker is the chair.
Hi, I'm joined today by Councilmember Lowenquist and Councilmember Borneman. We have two items. The first is an interlocal cooperation agreement between Whatcom County and the City of Bellingham and the Port of Bellingham regarding a coordinated approach to fund economic development activities. Tara?
Good afternoon. So a few years ago, back in 2011, the city and the port and the county have joined efforts to put some of our economic development resources together. We had found at that time that we were funding some of the same entities, same scopes of work. We were also facing substantial financial challenges. So we've, ever since that date, been working together. We fund primarily right now just the Small Business Development Center, and we have some additional funds set aside for marketing efforts. The Choose Whatcom website that we launched this last year is an example of those services. What's before you is an interlocal agreement that we need your action on. It's going to the port and the county as well, and it's to set forth commitments for the next 3 years. So for 2017, the city's share would be $66,250, and it goes up over the next 2 years in 18 and 19, primarily as a result of the SBDC's increase in costs over time. So as a reminder, the SBDC, it's a program under and housed with Western Washington University. It is fully funded by the public sector, so our three entities plus Western plus the SBA. And because of that, we're able to offer all of our businesses free and confidential, but free counseling. So there aren't fees, there aren't ways for them to bring in other sources of revenue. And that's about all I have to say on that, April.
Okay, and the staff recommendation is vote to approve.
Yes, please.
Is there any comments from the committee? Terry?
Yeah, I think this is a good approach. I think I like to see working together on taking this forward, so I would move approval.
We have a motion to approve, Michael?
Yeah, this is a small, good set of programs that we fund. I got no problem with it. I do kind of have a question, which you probably, it's unfair maybe to ask you, but in the interlocal here, it talks about the county using $82,14,370. That is their Public Utilities Improvement Fund dollars. First question is that the same as the EDI monies? And also, can they really spend the money this way? Because $82,14,370 is for public facilities, financing public facilities that serve economic development purposes and or personnel. And I'm not so sure these things really qualify as public facilities.
My understanding, although it is their purview,
Right.
It is the EDI source of revenues that they're using to fund this program, and these types of activities can be funded utilizing EDI funds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions from committee. Pinky?
I just have one question. So Tara, I think it's great that we're collaborating on those things, but when the Choose Whatcom website came out, we gave some feedback about including more diversity in this website, and so far it hasn't changed. And the video and everything's all white people. And I think if we're going to fund something, I think it's important for us to make sure that we're getting the message that that it was received, that we asked for some diversity in our reflection in the Choose Whatcom site, and I'd really like to see that go forward.
I will follow up with the Port of Bellingham. I do know that some changes in the photography took place. However, the videos were completed, and we've talked about when we run the next batch of videos to make sure that we're looking at that diversity issue as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We'll bring forward this with a suggestion of approval. The second item is 2015 Annual Performance Report on HUD Entitlement Grants and Housing Levy. Samuel?
Samuel Lutz, Housing and Services Program Manager for Community Planning and Community Development Department. So I'm going to get a presentation up here. I'm sorry you don't have it in your packets, but it'll give a summary. Oh, you do?
We have it.
Marie is a miracle worker. Thank you.
She's special.
So the city has a 5-year consolidated plan that runs from through the middle of 2018. And each year the city tells itself and the Department of Housing and Urban Development what they plan to do to meet the goals of the consolidated plan for that upcoming year. And each year the city also reports back to HUD on what they've done to meet those goals. So this Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or the CAPER, I'll just refer to it as the Performance Report, is for the period looking back from July of 2015 through June of 2016. So we'll talk through here about the resources. This is all listed in that report itself. The resources available during that period, the leveraging that was done with city funds, and the accomplishments. And then I'll spend a minute in the presentation also talking about going forward. So there are about $4.5 million of new resources available during that period, about $1.1 million of federal dollars, $3 million of the levy, and then additional portion of general funds. And you can see those federal dollars coming from both the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnership Program have decreased over time over the past 10 to 15 years. The levy dollars are leveraged, and general fund dollars are leveraged quite a bit. So almost $10 come in for every $1 the city puts in, and that's a combination of federal dollars that come in, but mainly private dollars that come in. And this is largely in the larger rental development projects that are done that bring in tax credit financing and other private dollars. So the programs outlined in the performance report, there are 5 of them: the new rental housing production, housing preservation, the rental assistance and supportive services program, the home buyer program, and community facilities. The levy combines the reporting for the housing production and housing preservation together. So I'll go into a little bit of detail of each of these programs for you, but there's a lot more detail in the performance report itself. So I won't go through each of these numbers, but the text figures to the left are specific to that performance period of a 1-year period. So that 42 units of new rental production, that reflects Francis Place being completed. And then you can see the other commitments and the preservation units are there. We can come back to this slide if you want me to detail what those numbers reflect. The chart on the right is about the full 7-year levy period. And so the first number, the 417, are the goals set out in the levy administrative and financial plan. And then you can see what the city has under contract and then how many units are completed. And being halfway, this report reflecting the halfway point of the levy, you can see we're well on track to meeting and exceeding those levy goals. There are also specific goals to the HUD Consolidated plan that the city has, and those goals are more numerous and a little bit more complicated to summarize, but the city is also on track to meeting those goals. The homebuyer program is done in partnership with Colshan Community Land Trust as well as the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. There was a new partnership the city developed with the Finance Commission that began just this past January, and so that's on track to increase the number of units produced through that homebuyer program. The Rental Assistance and Supportive Services Program supports both tenant-based rental assistance and those kinds of programs, as well as human services types of programs. And you can see that we're exceeding by far the levy goal there, and we're on track for the consolidated plan goals in this area. The Community Facilities Program does not receive any levy funds. This is entirely funded by the Community Development Block Grant federal program. You can see completed activities include accessibility improvements to a number of social services, as well as the Shuxton Family Resource Center that was new. And then committed activities for this reporting period include the Roosevelt Neighborhood Resource Center, which is just getting started with its rehabilitation, Opportunity Council's Cornwall Drop-In Center, and then the Unity Care Dental Clinic, which was recently completed. So going forward beyond what's in this performance report, you all approved the 2016 to 2017 action plan back in the spring. So there are additional dollars committed that are not reflected in this performance report, but will be reflected in next year's performance report. But don't want to lose sight of these things because they do tie up funds going forward. So 22 North is in this performance report, but at the time the city only committed to 10 units under the leadership of Northwest Youth Services, and it's since changed with a partnership with the Opportunity Council to 40 units. In addition, you can see these other projects that we've committed to based on the current action plan that we're going forward with right now. And lastly, taking a bit of a broader perspective, we have one more action plan year that will come before you under the current consolidated plan, and we'll be moving forward with a new consolidated plan that will cover the period from July 1, 2018 through June of 2023. And I think Tara wanted to talk with you a little bit about that.
So next year, I know we've talked to Dan and some of you about the planning process that we're undertaking. So hard to believe we're heading into another year of planning for the next consolidated plan. So they're done at 5-year increments. We're going to use 2017 to develop that plan, and that includes looking at the needs of our community, doing an assessment of what we've got underway, what's working well, what are our gaps, what are our needs in the community, developing a list of goals and strategies and priorities. And we will use this plan to inform how we're going to spend our community development block grant and home funds that we receive from the federal government, but also use that planning process to inform a potential the next housing levy, which the current levy goes through 2019. So we've talked to some of the proponents of the last levy about using that process to inform the priorities of the next kind of round. So I just wanted to mention that to you today. With that, I think Samuel and I are ready for questions.
Okay, committee? Terry?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to once again thank the voters of Bellingham for approving that levy. When you look at these numbers and you can see how that money is used to levy all these other dollars, I mean, the citizens get a chance to see that their money is going to good use. And we know we have a desperate need for more affordable housing, and I know this is a drop in the bucket towards it, but it is a program that is working and it is supported by the citizens. And so, you know, I think it's really important that that citizens do get a chance to hear and understand how well this kind of a program does work.
Other committee questions? Dan?
I just want to echo the comments that Councilmember Borneman just made in terms of the value that this brings to the community, the importance of providing for affordable housing for citizens. We are absolutely and have been in a crisis for some time now. This helps, but it's not going to solve the problem, but it does get us there. I was wondering, On the homebuyer program, Sam, you had mentioned a new program that started in January to help increase units. I'm just wondering if you could just expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Because there was a recognition that in that area, the city was not moving fast enough to meet the goals that were set out in the administrative and financial plan for the levy. The city looked to other partners. It's unusual to have only one partner for a program. Obviously, in the rental housing development and in the preservation, there's a whole host of nonprofits that do that sort of thing. For homebuyer, Colshan Community Land Trust was moving forward with projects, but it wasn't fast enough to meet the goals that were set out in the levy. So the city moved forward trying to look for other partners to move those goals forward, and the Washington State Housing Finance Commission had existing down payment assistant partnerships with other cities around the Puget Sound region, and so the partnership was developed with them for 2 different down payment assistance programs. One works in partnership with Colshan Community Land Trust, so it's sort of a second program with Colshan to offer down payment assistance to folks coming into their restricted resale home buyer program. And then a second down payment assistance program is available just simply through the banks in Bellingham. Any bank who works with the commission for other types of commission home buyer programs can request to access these dollars for first-time home buyers that meet the income qualifications, and there's a reduced significantly reduced interest rate and help with the down payment costs and things like that.
Thank you.
We came on about the same time, yeah, Samuel? Did you? You've only been 10 months, 8 months?
Correct.
I
started
don't
in
think
February.
anybody would know that with the way that you've come into this position, and I'm really thankful. I was worried, honestly. I hadn't known you before, but losing David and knowing all the balls that are in the air and plates that are spinning, I'm really thankful. I was interested a couple years back in attending different neighborhood association meetings. In that capacity, there was some real interest in some of the historic homes, especially if we could find some more student housing and that some of these homes might come up, and helping make affordable housing out of those homes and historic preservation. Is that something that we could talk about in this next purview? Is that something that we're working on?
Well, we do have the homebuyer program, which certainly could go towards meeting those ends, because they do go out and purchase homes. So as they become available, purchase homes and make them affordable, permanently affordable. We haven't connected, I don't know what you mean by historic homes and this funding source. We haven't connected those directly, but it's certainly something we can talk about. We also have another program that I don't know that was touched on so much today, which is a rehab program for people that are low income. And that's a program we've been running since the mid-'70s, and we rehab people's homes so that they can stay in them, whether it's a new roof or kitchen repair or window replacement.
And we'll be brought into the fold on that, so we can maybe discuss that a little bit further on the next.
Yes.
Purview. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. End of committee. This was for information only. End of committee.